How does a powerful political organization change leadership overnight, and why does the timing matter more than the announcement itself? Because what you're about to hear isn't about a routine transition. It's about pressure, it's about incentives, and it's about decisions made quietly before the public ever knew there was a problem. Turning Point USA has spent years presenting itself as a disciplined, youth-driven political force, highly organized, well-funded, carefully branded. But behind that polished exterior, a series of moves has drawn attention from critics, former insiders, watchdogs, and observers who say the official story doesn't explain what's really happening. And it starts with one question that refuses to go away. Why did Charlie Kirk step back from the CEO role right now? On paper, the explanation sounds reasonable. Founders often evolve into visionary roles. Organizations mature. Leadership structures adapt. These are familiar phrases in nonprofit and political circles. But investigative reporting isn't about accepting phrases. It's about examining timing, motive, and consequence. Because timing tells a story all on its own. In recent months, Turning Point USA has faced heightened scrutiny, not just from ideological opponents, but from people who once supported or worked within adjacent spaces. Questions began circulating about finances, internal governance, and how money moves through an organization that operates at national scale while retaining nonprofit tax status. Those questions did not originate from nowhere. Public records show a complex web of affiliated entities operating alongside TPUSA. That alone is not unusual in large organizations. Many nonprofits create LLCs for media, events, consulting, or regional operations. The structure itself isn't the issue. The issue is transparency. According to critics and online researchers who began mapping these entities, some of those companies appeared to receive significant payments while being closely connected to insiders. In some cases, individuals allegedly held both salaried positions and ownership stakes in outside entities that build the organization. To be clear, these are claims, not court findings. No criminal verdict has been issued, but the questions persist because they go to the heart of fiduciary responsibility, how donor money is handled, how oversight functions, and who ultimately benefits. And then something happened that raised even more eyebrows. An internal audit, described by supporters as a compliance review and by critics as a risk assessment, was reportedly ordered under Charlie Kirk's leadership. The details of that audit have not been made public. What is known, according to multiple accounts circulating among former affiliates, is that the process was abruptly halted. And it was halted after a leadership change. Enter Erika Kirk. Her appointment as CEO was announced as a natural continuation of leadership, experience, trust, stability. The message was clear: nothing to see here, business as usual. But for investigators, business as usual is often where the real story begins. Because one of the first reported actions under the new leadership was the cancellation of that internal review. Supporters say the decision was administrative, critics say it was strategic, and that disagreement is where the narrative fractures. If you're finding this analysis useful, this is the kind of long-form investigation that takes time and resources to produce. Subscribing is one of the simplest ways to support this channel and keep these reports coming. Turning on notifications also helps you stay ahead of developing stories as they unfold. Now, let's talk about motive, not speculation, but incentive-based reasoning. From an organizational standpoint, audits introduce risk. Even when nothing illegal is found, audits can expose weaknesses, raise donor concerns, and trigger regulatory interest. For a group already under heightened attention, freezing internal examination can be viewed as damage control. But damage control for whom? Charlie Kirk did not disappear. He remained the face, the speaker, the brand. Stepping back from the CEO role changed one critical thing: liability proximity. CEOs sign documents. CEOs oversee compliance. CEOs are accountable when questions turn formal. Moving into a visionary role or founder role preserves influence while increasing distance from operational responsibility. Again, that structure is not unique, but context matters. At the same time these governance questions surfaced, Charlie Kirk's public schedule intensified. Nationwide appearances, extended travel, messaging campaigns focused outward, not inward. Some observers noted the contrast, others dismissed it as coincidence. Then there's the personal dimension, the part rarely addressed in press releases. Shortly after a major family loss, Charlie Kirk resumed touring and public engagements at full pace. To supporters, this demonstrated resilience and commitment. To critics, it raised uncomfortable questions about priorities and image management. Public figures are entitled to grieve privately, but when personal narrative becomes part of public branding, scrutiny follows. And scrutiny is exactly what Turning Point USA was trying to manage. Behind closed doors, according to multiple unofficial accounts, donors were asking questions, not ideological ones, structural ones. How funds are allocated, why payments flow the way they do, why certain entities exist at all. In response, organizations usually choose one of two paths: radical transparency or strategic containment. Leadership reshuffles often signal the latter. Erika Kirk's positioning as CEO served multiple functions at once: continuity for supporters, reassurance for donors, and a reset point for internal accountability lines. By placing a trusted insider at the operational helm, the organization could argue stability while quietly redrawing responsibility. And that brings us back to the canceled audit. If you cancel a review, you don't erase questions, you postpone answers. And unanswered questions have a way of attracting attention. Regulators look at patterns, journalists look at incentives, critics look at contradictions. Consider this scenario raised repeatedly by online analysts: salaried employees operating multiple outside entities that receive payments from the same nonprofit. Again, not proven wrongdoing, but a structure that, if accurate, would raise serious governance concerns in any nonprofit environment. The phrase some critics use is circular funding, others use harsher language. What matters for investigators is whether internal controls exist to prevent conflicts of interest, and right now those controls are not publicly visible. If you have thoughts on this, or if you have followed TPUSA for years and noticed changes others might miss, share your perspective in the comments. Crowdsourced insight often fills gaps that official statements leave open. What we do know is this: leadership changes do not happen in isolation. They respond to forces: legal, financial, reputational. Charlie Kirk stepping back did not reduce his influence, it redistributed risk. Erika Kirk stepping in did not answer questions, it changed who would be asked to answer them. And the organization itself remains in motion, expanding publicly, consolidating privately, and navigating a level of attention it has not faced before. The story is still unfolding. Documents continue to be reviewed, connections continue to be mapped, and silence in high-stakes organizations often speaks louder than denial. Because when leadership changes precede clarity, investigators don't ask whether something happened. They ask what hasn't been explained yet and why.